Hello, my name is Charles Knight. I'm Chief Executive here at St Bartholomew's Hospital. I want to share my personal reflections on race inequality at St Bartholomew's. I was deeply shocked to see the stark evidence of the disproportionate effect of coronavirus on BME communities, both here and when I was working at the Nightingale. This is both a reproach and a tragedy for our country. Although the leadership of Barts Health has made commitments to equalities and inclusion over the past few years, and some progress has been seen, we've not moved far or fast enough. We now need to reflect, listen, and then act. I want to use the history of St Bartholomew's as an illustration. 900 years ago, when this hospital was founded, people's lives were immeasurably different from today. At that time in England, the vast majority of the population were serfs, slaves in fact. At the time it was said that a serf owned only his belly. Even the clothes on his back belonged to his lord. Yet at that time, our founder Rahir, who you can see portrayed in this stained glass window in the Church of St Bartholomew the Less, standing next to St Bartholomew, set up a hospital to look after the very poorest people in London. In that deeply unequal, unjust society, he realized his vision of civilization, compassion, and fairness. Over the course of 900 years, we've often fallen short of those values, but there are occasions when we've been true to them. I'm now here in the Great Hall, and in 1765, a few years after this was completed, Granville Sharp found Jonathan Strong close by the hospital. Jonathan was a young black slave from Barbados who'd been so badly beaten by his master that he was close to blindness. Granville brought him to St Bartholomew's, and Jonathan stayed at the hospital for a whole 4 months. He was kept in not just for treatment, but because if he was released, the hospital knew that his master would have the legal power to re-enslave him. This experience turned Granville into one of the very first campaigners for the abolition of slavery. He said that he could not believe that the law of England was so injurious to natural rights. Subsequently, Sharp took to the courts no less than 8 times and eventually obtained Strong's release as a free man. I like to think that in that deeply racist society of 18th century England, it was the spirit of St Bartholomew's Foundation that led to our providing treatment and sanctuary for Jonathan. So how do we live up to those values of civilization, compassion, and fairness today? I'm reminded of when Mahatma Gandhi was asked by a journalist on a visit to the UK in 1948, "So, Mr. Gandhi, what do you think of Western civilization?" "I think it would be a very good idea," Gandhi replied. Whilst we're rightly proud of our hospital, we can lay no claim to our founders' values of civilization, compassion, and fairness if we treat people differently according to their skin color. I know from the many interactions that I have with staff and patients at the hospital that so often we do live up to those values. But we also know from numerous pieces of evidence that the experience of BME staff at this hospital is simply not as good as it should be. And this is something we need to fix together. So to BME staff, I ask you to continue to speak out louder, and work with the hospital to design a better future together. Your voice will be heard, and the Trust will commit publicly to action to improve working lives by the end of July. And as we mark the 72nd birthday of the NHS, let's celebrate the extraordinary contribution that BME staff have made to the NHS, starting with the Windrush generation. This is a job for us all, so please spend a little time and reflect. Even if you feel with good reason that you're not part of the problem, I ask you to be part of the solution. Connect empathetically with people from different backgrounds to yourself and nurture talent. Be a mentor, an ally, and a champion for equality. Make your own personal commitment to ensure that St Bartholomew's is a civilized, compassionate and fair place to work at all times. All our lives will be richer for it.